Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and welcome to our Runescape 2007 Top 5 Low-Level Combat Moneymakers. These are what I would consider the top 5 low to mid-combat level moneymakers, but there are other options out there. And keep in mind that if you do plan on making some money with combat at low levels, you're going to get up to those higher levels quicker than you think, and these moneymakers are really not going to be that realistic to grind out for too long, because you're going to want to move on to something else. But it's a great place to start. This guy is going to be based off using melee to fight the monsters, but if you want to use ranged or even mage, that works too. Melee just costs the least of the three to use, and this is a money-making guide, so spending less money is a plus. The estimated profits are what I would consider average at these methods, but obviously, if you're a really low combat level, like 3 to 10, you're probably going to be at the lower end of these profits, and if you're at a high combat level, you can make even more than these estimates, but if you're at that point in combat, you probably want to go to some other methods. Let's jump right into the methods. Number 5 is going to be good old cows. The biggest benefit of cows is it's the definition of low-level combat. Entry-level money making. If you are straight off Tutorial Island or you're just starting to get your combat going, cows are a fantastic way to start. You also don't have to be a member to fight them, which is a solid bonus. You really don't want to grind cows for too long, but they're probably the best way to get your first combat levels if you're trying to make money at the same time. They bring in about 25 to 30k an hour, which is the lowest amount on this list, but that's why it's number 5, not number 1. The money you get from cows is basically just the one cowhide you get from each cow drop. Coming in at number 4 is going to be black unicorns. I fought myself for a while at whether or not this should be number 4 or number 3, and you'll see why in a minute. Black unicorns can only be found in the wilderness near the corporal beast entrance. Black unicorns are one of the strongest on this list, almost approaching what I would consider mid-level combat, but they're still pretty simple to kill. The struggle can come from 1, being in the wilderness, where you can get PK'd, though it's fairly less likely at lower levels, and 2, there are some Ents lurking around, which are very strong for low-level players, and they can kill you if you're not paying attention. You can bring in 80 to 100k an hour here as long as you don't die in the process, and you can increase those numbers even more once you get a looting bag, which can be dropped by the black unicorns or anything else in the wilderness. The looting bag can hold some of your unicorn horns, requiring less bank trips overall. At number 3, we have a very similar method to number 4, regular unicorns. The regular ones are much weaker and they're not in the wilderness. I find the best place to kill them is between Catherby and Camelot, using the bank in Catherby to store the horns. The only problem with these compared to their counterpart is there really isn't a place to kill them with more than 2 spawns, so you're limited to how many you can kill per hour because you do eventually have to wait for them to spawn. But you can bring in about 60 to 65k an hour here, and it really doesn't take that much to kill. Now that we have talked about cows and 2 different types of unicorns, the number 2 method in this guide is going to be Unicows. Unicows require a completion of the Tower of Life quest, which does add some requirements, but there's a lot of benefits to them too. You can fight Unicows in the basement of the Tower of Life, the northwest altar. It requires 1 cowhide and 1 unicorn horn to spawn, but it's super easy to kill and drops 2 to 4 unicorn horns. All you need to do is bring any necessary food, and then 10 to 14 cowhides with you. This is a far faster way to obtain unicorn horns than either of the other 2 options that I've shown you. This place is normally empty and players can't take your kill anyway. Yes, 3 of the 4 methods so far just require you collecting unicorn horns and selling them for profit, but there's really not that much variety in low-level combat. If you want more variety, use these low-level combats to get to higher combat and then move on to some other methods. The number 1 low-level combat money-making method is Chaos Druids. You can either fight Chaos Druids in the Edgeville dungeon, which is in the wilderness, or in this house north of Ardougne, which requires 46 thieving to pick the lock and get in. Chaos Druids can get kind of crowded, but they're very easy to kill and they have the potential to make a lot of money. Unlike the other 4 methods in this guide, the money-making drop is not guaranteed from Chaos Druids. Grimy Ronars are the main source of profit from these, though there's some other drops that do help. You never know what pace you're going to get the Grimy Ronars, and that's why the profit range varies so much here. But overall, it's a fantastic way to grind out some of your lower combat levels, and you can potentially make a lot of money in the process. In this clip you'll notice that I'm throwing some throwing knives instead of using melee. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the guide, you can potentially train any form of combat on these money-making methods, and as long as you're spending less money than you're making, you're still going to make some profit, but clearly the cheaper methods are going to make more profit in the long run. That's going to wrap up our low-level combat money-making guide. I hope these 5 methods helped you out in some way, everybody. If you find that you don't like any of these 5 methods, there are more out there. And if you're thinking there are any low-level combat moneymakers better than these, which I am sure a lot of you are thinking that, go ahead and throw them in the comments section so we can discuss it. The more, the merrier. Good luck, everybody, with your combat moneymaking. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to click on that like button and tell us what you enjoyed about it. If you're looking for some more RuneScape videos like this one, then be sure to join the cul-de-sac by subscribing for more. We will see you next time.